costumes. And in this one, let's go ahead and do another top 10 video. Now, previously, I did do the top 10 Batman that were more of a comic style or Bruce Wayne style figure. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to get those styles out of the way, because I am a big fan of alternate versions of Batman. So I knew that this list was going to be a little bit harder to whittle down to my favorites, but I did go ahead and look throughout the collection, and surprisingly, it was a little bit more difficult to pick out my favorite top 10 alternate versions of Batman. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be Bruce Wayne. This could be other people dressed up as Batman, or it could be Bruce Wayne, or it could be just alternate versions of Batman from alternate universes or different costumes. But I eventually did break it down to my top 10, but I still had a lot of surplus that I wanted to have in the list, but I could just not do it. And that is basically because usually when I do these lists, I bring out the figures and then I just start removing the ones that I could do without in my collection, and the ones that I just love and I have to have in my collection, that I would never get rid of and will always be in my collection. So that means that I actually do have some honorable mentions. So let's go ahead and knock those out of the way first. First up, I do have a figure that I don't know why, but it's like not really popular. And you could get this guy pretty cheap online. And he is one of my favorite figures. I mean, he is just well executed, especially for being so early in the line, because we know that McFarlane has advanced the execution of the figures and gotten a little better at the character choices. But this is an awesome figure. This is the Dawnbreaker from the sort of Dark Knight Metals wave. Now, this was kind of weird because I remember he put out 4 figures when he could have easily put out a Build-A-Figure wave, but at this time he wasn't, I guess, really sure that he was going to go that route. But it would have been awesome to have these figures and then go ahead and build the Devastator. I think it just would have been a smarter choice, and these are opinions that we have that we think would have worked out better, and there's nothing wrong with saying what you would prefer or what you think would look better. That's, everybody has that right. And I just remember thinking, like, he did that wave so wrong, regardless of the fact that you didn't you didn't really see these in store. I had a hard time at first finding these. Most of these I ordered them online, but this is an awesome, beautifully sculpted figure, well proportioned. Just look at the thinner limbs that fit with the torso, all the cool sculpted detail, and all the like apparatuses that are connected to his shoulder harness and go into his head. Sort of zombie kind of face sculpt that I knew McFarlane would be really good at. And this is just a beautiful figure. He has sort of a metallic green tones on him down to the boots. The articulation works basically well for the time period. And this guy is just a beautiful figure. As I said before, you can go online and pick up this guy pretty cheap. And I just love this figure. He's awesome. Can't get enough of him. That is my first honorable mention, and that is Dawnbreaker from the sort of Dark Knight Metals wave that first came out. Awesome figure. Love him. Would never get rid of him. Now, coming up next, we actually have, what's this Batman called? I know he is the Batman from Planet X, Al-Zor or something like that. Now, this figure, it's pretty interesting because a lot of people hate this. They do not like the weird colors, and it just like baffles me how people could not like this. But there is the other side of the coin where people love this character, love this figure. We have seen versions of him before in action figure form, and this is just McFarlane taking it to the next level with the new articulation, the detailed sculpt work. This is an awesome figure, and there is nothing wrong with not preferring a figure and actually loving a figure. We all have to go through this with each individual figure. We all have to decide if it's something that captures our imagination, or that something that we just do not like and will never like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this figure for me is fairly interesting, with a whole completely kind of Joker-esque style colors. But if you know anything about the character, he's just from a different planet and he goes by a different set of rules than our Batman. They had sort of a resurgence in the comics with him. One of the better Batman head sculpts in the beginning of the line, and honestly McFarlane could take this guy, change out some parts, and make a pretty cool traditional Batman. But I thought he was cool. I really like him. I would not get rid of him. Awesome, awesome figure. And finally, for my honorable mentions, we're going to have the Batman Who Laughs as Batman. Now, this is another underrated figure, right in McFarlane's wheelhouse, with the creepy head sculpt and all the cool, design and texture. This one should have been on my underrated list, but he definitely had to make at least one list. And he's an awesome figure, as I said before. The detailed sculpt work, and here's where you can actually see the difference with the wrist joints and the ankle joints. In this figure, they are actually sculpted out, and they make a cool, silhouette of the figure. And when he made this one, it was still using those, regular spherical ball joints, and this was just the advancement in the technology of making the figures, and it makes for a beautifully sculpted, awesome figure. If you know me, I like, the more darker, creepy stuff. And this is actually Bruce Wayne right before he becomes the Batman Who Laughs. Awesome figure, love him. Can't say enough good things. This is another one that you could still get pretty much at retail online. If you do not have him, pick him up. He is a awesome figure. Now that's it for the honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and get into the top 10 list. Now, I'm going to try and get through these pretty quick. I know it's going to take me a while, but let's settle in for the long haul. First up, this is actually Batman Beyond. Now, we all know this is Terry McGinnis. This is not Bruce Wayne. But if you know me, you know that I am a big Batman Beyond fan, always have been. And I was just waiting for McFarlane to do his take on Batman Beyond. Now, this is the one with the covered face. They do have the other one with the more open face, and that one is the one they used to do all the other repaints that they have for this figure. But I really love this original release that was with the Target exclusive, I think it was. But I love the claws that he put on him. Pretty simple design. I love the aesthetics of the figure. He's a leaner version of Batman and a little bit shorter than the other ones to really represent that Terry McGinnis body style. But all in all, awesome figure. Now, he does come with wings that you can actually open up and attach his arms to get a lot of those cool Batman Beyond flight poses. Just a really underrated figure. You don't hear too many people talking about this one, but I really enjoy him. Now, I do have all the versions, the alternate versions, but I wanted to make my own version. So I ended up making an unmasked Terry McGinnis. Now, I used the unmasked Red Hood because this never really looked like Jason Todd to me. I don't know why, it just never looked like him, but it looked more like Terry McGinnis. So I swapped out the hairstyles because Terry McGinnis had a more, of like a side comb hairstyle, and added it to this body. And then I did do some repaints to make it look a little bit more like the animated style of the version of this character. But really happy with this one. I did give him like the taken off mask that I got from the DC Universe Classics versions, and it just really completes this little custom that I did of a unmasked Terry McGinnis. Now, who knows if we'll get any more versions of Batman Beyond in the future, but for now, this guy is pretty cool. This version, not so easy to get online in the aftermarket, but you can still get a Batman Beyond figure pretty simply. So that's my number 10, Batman Beyond. Now, coming in next, you know me, I love me some monster, vampire, zombie, creepy stuff. And this is where I think McFarlane excels. Now I have to be honest, when I saw the images of this figure when they were released, wasn't a big fan. They did have that cool like promo shot where the arm was coming out of the ground, which was pretty pretty awesome. You can duplicate that in a diorama, which would be pretty sweet. But once I got the figure, I could see that the intentions were there. Like the sculpt is there, the design is there. I just think, the missing paint and the way they painted the eyes was something that I wasn't a big fan of. But all in all, you can see what they were going for. Awesome, awesome figure, beautifully sculpted, fantastic design. Even had the Black Lantern ring on there. It's just wasn't exactly like eye-catching to me when I first saw it. Of course, this is when, the figures were still, I think they were $25 plus the Build-A-Figure piece. So this was $20 basically. And look what you're getting, just a beautifully sculpted figure. Really terrific work from McFarlane that's underrated. Now I did go ahead and do my custom version where I repainted the eyes, added some more like zombie style paint to the face, added all the details, the pouches, anything I could find, even like the mud where he comes out of the graveyard. And this really takes this figure to the next level and makes it a complete figure. Now it is kind of sad that the reason we are missing a lot of the paint and stuff like that is because McFarlane wants to keep these figures at a price point for retail. He's not really thinking about the little details and all that collectors really want, which is sad. But I do think that the effort was there. The sculpt was there. The stylized body proportions were there. And if you can add some paint, this is a fantastic figure to have in your collection. That is the Black Lantern Batman, coming out of the grave and coming in at number 9 on the list. Okay, now we're going into number 8. And this one was kind of weird because I do like him and I wanted him on the list. I do prefer him over the original Batman Who Laughs, only because I wasn't really wowed by that original Batman Who Laughs. I always thought his head sat like really low on the body, and it just didn't do it for me for some reason. I mean, he's a pretty good figure to have in the collection. I actually think the Mortal Kombat version of Batman Who Laughs has a better design and look, like just to the eye. But this is the winged tyrant Batman Who Laughs. Now this one was from the Merciless wave, and he's pretty pricey right now, I guess, for the wings. But a lot of people like this guy on the underground, on the down low. The sculpt work is there. The wings are articulated, which is a nice detail. I'm pretty sure McFarlane has the steel form to make these wings. I do not know why he has not used them a lot more, but they are beautiful wings. These should be the standard wings that McFarlane uses, but of course this is actually Bruce Wayne as the Batman Who Laughs, just with some added on tyrant wings. But if you can actually get this figure for a decent price, I would pick him up because I love him in the collection. A kind of figure that people overlook, and he really flies under the radar. But he has like a sort of haunting feel. Once you like pose him and get him in your collection, he is a pretty awesome figure. That's the Tyrant Batman Who Laughs. Now coming in at number 7, one of my all-time favorites, and I think underrated figures. I do know some people like this guy more than others, but he is the Dark Detective from Future State. Beautiful figure. Another time that you're getting a $20 figure with just awesome detail, awesome sculpt, minimal paint, which as I said before, we've come to expect. But just the design and the way you can look at the images from the comics, and this guy just comes to life right out of the pages. Beautiful figure, underrated figure. Love having him in the collection. Now, I did do a complete repaint where I added all the little paint details, and I love that figure. But I really wanted to look more at the alternate Gold Label version where he doesn't have the coat on. All it was really was an arm swap, but I do like the look of that figure, even though I never reviewed him. And I will be actually putting that one on an extra motorcycle that I have from the Batman movie line. But this guy is a cool figure. If you could get him for cheap and you do not have him in your collection, I would suggest picking him up. That is the Dark Detective. What is it? It might be Future State. I might be wrong on that, but sort of an acquired taste, a completely different design of the cowl. But don't let that turn you away, because a lot of times you got to get past your first initial thoughts on a figure and get in there and actually look at it and appreciate the work that is put into these figures. Pretty cool. Now up next we have our only collect to build on the list, and that is the Dark Father. Pretty cool figure. Now this is another time when people, look at it and think, oh, another Batman. Like, and what is this? I mean, he's pretty awesome. The detail, the sculpt is there. Once again, the paint is lacking. But if you look at the images from the comics, the initial idea is there. Now in the comics, he's actually normal size because he's more of like Bruce Wayne mixed with Darkseid. But McFarlane did make him slightly bigger than the other figures, which I'm not hating. It actually works well because you know how Darkseid is usually bigger than the other characters. So he's not ginormous, but he is a little bit bigger, and it did work well with this figure. But if you look at the intricate detail, even the face sculpt is just something that I really enjoy. This is an awesome figure to have in the collection. Now I did do a complete repaint because on the box there was like an image that had different paint details, and like the belt was yellow and the boots had like a little bit of design to them. So I wanted to kind of mirror that image, and really happy with that version. But I also have the standard, just regular release version. But that is midway into the list, and that is the Dark Father. Now we have passed the hump, going into the final five, and coming next we do have Straight Jacket Batman. Now this is from the Last Night on Earth. This is very early on in the line, and this is another time where I just thought, man, McFarlane for $20 is killing it on the original sculpts, killing it on the design and the way they just come straight out of the pages of the comics, and something new that we had never seen before. You still have a lot of people right now at this point in the line, and they're crying about classics, and I want classics, which it's not that I'm against classics. Like, I love classics just as much as everybody else, but when I get a classic, I enjoy it and I add it to the collection. But also when I get something original and new and we've never seen before, I also enjoy it and I also add it to the collection. So I like both. I don't poo-poo on the whole Dark Knight thing. I don't put down alternate versions. I actually appreciate them for what they are, and I really like them. And this guy is one that actually a lot of people really enjoy this one, even though most people say like, what is this? But he's a cool straight jacketed version of Batman coming straight out of the pages of the comics. Now this is not actually Bruce Wayne. If you read the comic, the spoiler alert, this is actually like a clone of Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't know that. He thinks he is Bruce Wayne. So pretty interesting who ends up being like the main villain of that storyline, but you can check it out for yourself. Now he did have that lantern with the Joker head in it, which I always thought was, awesome. Something we've never seen, something that would be interesting to add into the collection. Now I did do my complete repaint of this figure once again. Some of the details I remember is that he has like these sort of blades, or I'm not sure, shards that are on his forearms that are supposed to represent his gauntlet blades, but they're actually shards of glass. Of course they were unpainted in the original release, so I did my best job of sort of replicating that glass look. And then I just added little details like all the metal that's on the straps and stuff like that. Tried to give him a little wash. I remember at this time I was really leery of doing washes, but I might go back and touch it up a little bit better now that I have some experience with the washes. And another thing I did was actually change the head that's in the lantern, because the original head looks kind of weird. He's kind of doesn't have that much of an expression. He does look creepy. In fact, I did eventually use him to make my own custom serial killer Joker, but I just wanted to put a head that had like a more maniacal look like he looks in the comics. So love this figure, would never get rid of it in the collection. Something strange and kooky that I really love having in the collection. That is the Straight Jacket Batman from Last Night on Earth. Now coming in at number 4. Now this figure, really enjoy him mostly because he has multiple uses in the line, but the head sculpt and the trench coat and the way he kind of represents death metal, like in a sense, is just awesome to me. And that is the death metal Batman. Now, besides all the details in the sculpt, the same, you hear the same story over and over again. McFarlane killing it with the sculpt work, especially, for Batman, sadly not for Superman. But this guy has different uses. First of all, you can put him on that skeletal bat cycle, and that's just like a perfect unit together. He has that scythe that he also came with in that version. Now this one is from a different wave, so he actually comes with a guitar, but McFarlane also released him with the Batmo Beast the second time around, which I do own. And actually just a great figure standing on his own or being utilized with one of the vehicles. Just a awesome looking Batman. Can't get over that head sculpt, one of the more rugged head sculpt of Batman that we saw from McFarlane. So pretty happy with this one. He is death metal Batman. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. This is going to be the last 3. And of course, coming in at number 3 is Thomas Wayne Batman from the Flashpoint. Beautiful figure. Early in the line, he actually is hindered because some of the things that were done in the early of the line, but he also benefits from, having guns, which Warner Brothers, stupidly decided to put that mandate on McFarlane. But he comes with his weapons, he comes with his holsters. Once again, I feel like if we were to get this figure now, he would have the sculpted boots. He would have a slightly softer plastic, because this guy, the plastic was really stiff, so it was hard to get, a lot of articulation out of him. But it is there. The head sculpt is another thing that is iconic on this character, and McFarlane captured it perfectly. I always thought the head was a little low on the shoulders. In fact, I think I actually raised the head on this one. I just switched out the pegs with another figure so that he wouldn't look so, scrunched down. But you have all the details from Flashpoint, the pointy parts on the cape, the symbol, the boots have a nice sculpt work to them. Just an awesome figure to have in the collection, and definitely one of my favorites that I would never get rid of in the collection. As far as repainting and customs, I do have another one, but I just never got around to actually doing like a wash, like a dark wash on him. Sometimes doing washes is tricky because to me they could look a little bit like muck it up and look dirty and convoluted. So I just prefer to keep them the way they are. Sometimes it does work and it brings out a lot of the detailed sculpt work. But for my extra one that I have, I pretty much just made him a custom sword because the sword that comes with the unmasked Thomas Wayne was way too big, way too flimsy, and just I didn't really like the design at all. It could have had it a little bit smaller and a little bit stiffer plastic and I would be really happy with it. But I just went ahead and made a custom one for my custom Thomas Wayne. And I just think it fits a lot better with the, the proportions from the sword to the figure look a lot better. So that's number 3, Thomas Wayne from Flashpoint. The runner-up almost was the top of the list, and that is going to be Jean-Paul Vallée as Batman in the Nightfall Batman suit. Sort of that As-Bat style costume. Just look at the work. Now these were $20. You had to find them at retail. Right now, good luck. but I did end up finding a couple of these. I do have one in box. I have this one, and then I have one open and ready to customize. Now, when I actually customize this, I want to go more for like the DC Direct version style, where all the claws are silver. He has a more black tone to his costume with some added, silver details in there. But I'm kind of holding off because I'm pretty sure McFarlane eventually will do a repaint of this. And when he does, I don't want mine to look too much like that one, because then it would kind of be wasted effort on my part. So until I see the repaint of this, which I'm pretty sure we're gonna get, I'm gonna hold off on doing that custom one. But just an awesome figure. The design, the proportions, the gauntlets, the sculpted ankle joints, everything is just beautiful. That 90s like pouch, style that they used to have back then. The cape is like its own, like the cape is unique to this figure. The head sculpt, everything about this is top tier, and that's why he's number 9 on my list. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the paint scheme. I think a couple of the details were wrong on the suit, but for $20 I couldn't turn it down, and he's an awesome addition to the collection. That is the Azrael Nightfall Batman, must have in the Alternate Batman collection. Now, if you know me, you've watched my videos, then you will know this is a no-brainer. What is number 1 on my Alternate Batman list? Of course, it has to be my favorite McFarlane figure so far, Grim Knight. Now, this guy was in that, Dark Knight Metals wave that I talked about. I ended up buying 8 of these figures. I have 2 in package, and I have 6, different customized, different versions. I actually made him a motorcycle that I called the Cycle, and just love this figure. I don't know what it is about Grim Knight. I'm not necessarily sure what it is about Grim Knight. I mean, he had an awesome presence in the comics. He was sort of Batman who laughs first, like muscle. That's how they used him as a character. Now, some things about the design I know people will not like the head has a weird shape to it, but it kind of grows on you, and it's really distinctive to the Grim Knight. Now, this is when McFarlane was still using the ball joints at the ankles, and the ones at the wrist don't really bother me, but it's the ankle ones that make it have that chopped up, sculpt work that doesn't really work for me. And of course, this is when McFarlane could still put guns with the figures. So of course he has an awesome arsenal of guns with this removable pack that you could snap onto his bag. Beautiful figure, awesome design, really up my alley, and like the way I look at the world is this is what Batman should be, is just like a no nonsense, no remorse, no emotion Batman would actually be my preferred Batman. But just a beautiful figure to have in the collection. Right now, you're looking at about $60 to get him even loose. In box, more like $80. And I'm always, I have my tentacles out there feeling if I could come across another one for, cheap, like $40, I will snatch him up and I will pick up another Grim Knight. He is by far my favorite McFarlane figure in the whole line. Now, I did do various customs, but as of right now, this is my favorite one. This is the Grim Knight, but I added a tattered cape to him. And another thing I added was at the boots, I kind of switched them out, and now he has sculpted out boot joints. He doesn't have those ugly chopped up boots. And another thing it did is it actually raised him up a couple of millimeters, so he's not short, he's a taller Batman. And this one I have him with some cool Desert Eagles. He is by far my favorite figure. This is the Grim Knight, my custom Grim Knight with the boots. I would never get rid of. If I had to, get rid of all my collection, my Grim Knights would be the final ones, and then my custom Grim Knight would be the final thing on my desk, the final jewel in my collection would be my custom Grim Knight with the fixed combat boots. But that is my list of top 10 alternate Batmans. Everybody's list is going to be different. You guys may have different ideas, but for me, these are the ones you must have in your collection. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
Used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.